Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. This rematch is set to take place the end of March as opposed to the 6th of March, okay? They pushed that back and they've actually moved it to Gibraltar of all places. Gibraltar. I mean, okay. I mean, if we can get fans in, that's all well and good, but Gibraltar is just such a random place to have it. This fight's been moved several times. Originally, this fight was meant to take place in November, 21st of November. Okay, that was a quick turnaround if it had took place, because Dillian Whyte and Povetkin fought, I think it was the 22nd of August, in around that, maybe a bit later than that actually, but it was in around then time, the end of August. Okay, so they would have had, as I said, a reasonably quick turnaround. Obviously, that's got pushed back. It got pushed back till January. Now it got pushed back to the start of March, and something to do with quarantine, because Dillian Whyte's training in Portugal. There's a load of hassle there with quarantine stuff, so they had to move this fight back again. They've moved it back to the end of March. Now we have this fight, okay? Now, I see a lot of people saying that they expect to see repeat. A lot of other people, it's kind of split, right? The majority of people think that Dillian Whyte, he's learned from the mistake. Because it wasn't mistakes, it was a single mistake he made in the first fight. Because I've said this once, I'll say it again. When I look at that first Povetkin fight, that was the sharpest I've seen Dillian Whyte. You know, his jab was on point. He was just, to me, he won the first 4 rounds. Povetkin had some spots of success in there with some shots to the body, you know, but other than that, Povetkin, to me, it was almost like that was the best Dillian Whyte I've seen, apart from the 5th round. And that was probably the worst Povetkin I'd seen, apart from the 5th round. Alright? Because, as I said, Dillian Whyte looked sharp, he looked on it, he was, you know, keeping his distance very well, he was jabbing very well, he was offsetting Povetkin. Povetkin, on the other hand, his timing looked terrible. I mean, as I said, obviously the 5th round, his timing was fine. But for the first 5 rounds, I was looking at Povetkin, I was like, that his timing's all gone. His timing, his judge of distance, you know, his punch selection, it's all off. The left hook, which Povetkin is known for throwing, he's known for having a great, nice, compact, powerful left hook. He was swinging so erratic. It was just, he looked awful. He really, truly did. And I remember thinking, because going into the first fight, when that fight was announced originally last year, it was meant to take place in May. And I was kind of like, meh, is what it is. Dillian Whyte will probably win, but Povetkin will be game. And the closer we got to it, obviously it got pushed back, but the closer we got to it, the more I started seeing what Dillian Whyte wasn't doing as opposed to what he was doing. He wasn't mentioning Povetkin. He wasn't kind of like, you know, focusing 100% of his attention on the guy in front of him. He was talking about February 2021 when the mandatory for the BBC gets called. He was talking about there's going to be no undisputed fight. You know, I'm getting my shot, this, that, and the other. I want Tyson Fury. It's like, whoa. You got a man in front of you who was game, who was still lively, who was still a threat. I best bet to focus on him as opposed to just, you know, be talking about this. For me, that fight in August had upset written all over it. Not because people were underestimating Povetkin. We knew what we were going to get with Povetkin, but because Dillian Whyte was just looking ahead. And when you look ahead, a lot of times you can come unstuck. Look at Josh Warrington. The plan was Josh Warrington has this kind of, you know, comeback fight against Mauricio Lara, does the job, and then fights Kanzu. Well, look what happened. He got stopped by Mauricio Lara. Now he's having to probably go down the rematch road. So that's what I thought going into the first fight. Now, what Dillian Whyte done well, and he should take from the first fight, is his judge of distance. I thought was fantastic. You know, he should keep center ring, keep jabbing Povetkin. The thing about Povetkin, right? Povetkin is a pressure fighter. He's not an outside fighter. Okay, Povetkin is great at close range. There's very few heavyweights who would want to be at close range with Alexander Povetkin. Maybe Andy Ruiz, but even then, Povetkin is a fighter where you don't want to get into close quarters with him. He's short, compact, he's got shorter arms, powerful hooks, very powerful uppercuts. Carlos Takam got into a very close range fight with Povetkin back in 2014, and look what happened to him. He got absolutely iced by Povetkin. I know he was down earlier in that fight, but when it got to close quarters, Povetkin was just lethal with those hooks and uppercuts. So Dillian Whyte doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to make that same mistake in this rematch, right? I would say with Dillian Whyte, if you're wanting to judge distance, the minute you feel Povetkin's jab even touching your gloves, so if they're both fighting at long range and Dillian Whyte is wondering about judging his distance, is Povetkin too close? The minute he feels Povetkin's jab coming, even just grazing his glove, that's too close. He's going to need to move and reset and try and reset Povetkin. So if Dillian Whyte, look at the first 4 rounds, what he did well in there, and try and implement that, be a bit more disciplined. right? The thing about Dillian Whyte that worries me is that with Anthony Joshua against Andy Ruiz, yeah, it wasn't a one-punch knockout that knocked him out completely, but AJ would engage with Ruiz. He would go into close quarters when the shorter guy with the short front foot counter puncher with the shorter arms and the faster hook, because that is deadliest, right? You don't want to be doing that. AJ in the rematch went and he boxed around. He didn't want to engage with Andy Ruiz at all. With Dillian Whyte, I would suggest something similar like that with Povetkin. We know Povetkin, we've seen him be outboxed, in the past. We've seen even Mariusz Vak, if you go back and watch that fight in parts, when he was just using his jab, was having success against Alexander Povetkin, just by using his height and reach. Dillian Whyte, although he's not as tall as a Mariusz Vak or Vladimir Klitschko, he does have a slight height advantage, and he definitely has a reach advantage over Povetkin. So he's going to want to use that. It's there, you may as well use it. So I suspect Dillian Whyte, if I was in his team, I'd be saying, keep this at long range. The Ulch did in the first fight, keep centering. The minute you feel Povetkin's jab get anywhere near you, that's too close. Right? That's too close. So you're going to want to move, you're going to want to offset, even if he needs to be, tie him up. Right? If you're Povetkin in that first fight, yes, he landed some good body shots. His hooks to the head, his timing seemed very off. He is going to want to try and almost sing Dillian Whyte to sleep almost if I was Povetkin, because Povetkin he's definitely slowed down a lot, right? He's definitely not as fast or as fluid as he used to be. You could see that in the first Dillian Whyte fight. But whatever he can do to get inside, like I love the way he was able to get inside on Joshua in their first fight, in their only fight, in the first round of their fight, because he was able to throw some jabs, come in and just kind of offset Anthony Joshua, throw those fast uppercuts, and he rocked Anthony Joshua. I think he broke his nose as well. So Povetkin, it'd be something like that. I think Povetkin might actually be banking on the fact that Dillian Whyte is such a fiery character that he may end up engaging irrespective of whether he should or not. I mean, you saw Xavier Miller early on in the first fight saying to Dillian Whyte, do not engage with this guy, especially when he's fresh. Don't engage with him. Obviously Dillian Whyte didn't listen, so he's going to want to do his due diligence and listen in this fight. If he does engage with Povetkin, then that's going to cause some issues for Dillian Whyte. It's going to play into Povetkin's strengths. Again, you don't want to be engaging in close quarter combat with a guy who, like, Dillian Whyte has a good left hook. Povetkin's left hook is better. And you ever hear the saying, don't hook with the hooker? All right, their hooks are cleaner, faster, crisper, more compact. Right? Dillian Whyte, as I said, keep this at range. The counters he was landing on Povetkin's punch resistance doesn't seem the same. He was able to drop him with a couple of check. I think it was a check hook he dropped him with. I know he dropped him with a right hand. I think it was a check hook then he dropped him with after. Keep it at that. I mean, like, there's no reason to engage with someone who is better on the inside. Povetkin can fight a bit square. So when you're square, a bit like Mike Tyson, Teddy Atlas actually trained Povetkin once, briefly a couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, but he's taken hint of what Atlas was doing, and he still implemented that. You'll see it. Povetkin can do those double left hooks like he knocked out Johan Dupas with. When you're side on, right, your hooks and your uppercuts don't have to travel as far. You're in more of a position to get those shots off, right? If you're square on, they have to travel further. So Povetkin, being someone who does tend to fight a lot more square than, we'll say, Dillian Whyte, if you get in the close quarter combats, he's going to be able to throw them hooks, land them. They're not going to have to travel as further. And he's got the shorter arms again. They're not going to have to travel as far. So Dillian Whyte needs to be wary of all that. The things about Dillian Whyte as well that I worry about, the damage that knockout defeat did. Dillian Whyte can say whatever he wants about, he's dusted it off, it's this, that, and the other. It was a devastating knockout defeat, right? I remember Michael Vernon Page said after he was knocked out badly in Bellator that it took him 4 months, maybe even longer, he said, to recover. And that was a bad knockout. I remember Abner Mares on the PBC broadcast the weekend saying that when he got knocked out in the first round by Johnny Gonzalez, it took him years to fully get over the demons, right? This was a brutal knockout. I suspect that Dillian Whyte, people can say whatever they want to say about, he's looked great in this, he's done this. Until we see him in there with Alexander Povetkin, we won't know, because that's the man who iced you. So we need to see. I know Dillian Whyte's strong mentally, he's very fiery, and that fieriness could come back to bite him, because AJ is nowhere near as fiery as Dillian Whyte. He has the discipline to be able to box that sort of fight for 12 rounds. Dillian Whyte, if he rocked Povetkin even slightly, you can see the red mist descending on Dillian Whyte and him going in like a bull in the china shop. And that is when Povetkin will be at his deadliest, because that's when Povetkin can catch him. The minute Dillian Whyte brings us to close quarters and he thinks, I'm going to get rid of this guy, boom. It's happened once, it can happen again. Dillian Whyte knows Povetkin has the power to knock him out with one punch, right? So Dillian Whyte, as I said, be well advised to be extremely careful in there. Alright? Having said all that, that's kind of how I'm breaking this fight down. Having said all that, I have to give a prediction on this fight. Originally, when this fight was announced in November, I went with Povetkin because I thought way too soon after the fight. Now, we're in February going into March. My prediction for this fight now is Dillian Whyte's going to stop Povetkin. Alright? I think some people can talk about what Povetkin, is alleged to have had, back then. Look, Povetkin said that he lost, what was it, like 20 something pounds of muscle, and now he's knocking guys out in the gym. I make it that what you will. I reckon that Povetkin's needed more time to recover. I reckon that he has slowed down sufficiently. He definitely slowed down to me in that first fight, and I think that we're 7 months removed. I think he's going to slow down even further. So for me, Dillian Whyte, everything is in the cards are on his table, right? He has the cards, so he needs to box defensively, box safely. Not I say that, I don't mean like run around the ring. I mean just keep it at range. As I said, when you feel Povetkin's jab even on your glove, reset. That's too close, and just keep it at range. Look for those little counters, and I think you should be fine. I think that Povetkin's timing, his timing to me did seem off. It definitely seemed off in the first fight. So keep Povetkin, guessing, keep him thinking, keep him at arm's length. Your jab is very good, use it. And I think Dillian Whyte's going to win this fight via stoppage. I think he's going to stop Povetkin in the mid-rounds. Right, I do. I think that Povetkin, it was a great win. It was a great highlight reel knockout. But I think that Father Time is undefeated. Povetkin is closer to 42 than he is to 40. So, Povetkin, for me, there's only one winner in this fight, and that's Dillian Whyte. Do I rule out Povetkin? No. I mean, he's knocked Dillian Whyte out before he could do it again. But I definitely feel as though that Dillian Whyte is going to take this fight this time around. That's just my gut feeling. That's what I'm feeling. I had that feeling, although I didn't go for it, I had that feeling of an upset the first time. I don't have that feeling this time. Right? That's not there. So, for me, this is Dillian Whyte's fight to lose. I'm picking him to win this fight. If you want to go for rounds, I'd say between rounds 5 to 7. And that's what I'm going to be putting down. Between rounds 5 to 7, Dillian Whyte to stop Povetkin. That's my prediction. Let me know yours. Let me know what you thought of the prediction video. Let me know what you're thinking going into this fight. Povetkin, Dillian Whyte. Who do you have and why? Leave it in the comment section. Lads and lassies, I hope you liked the video. Smash the like button if you did. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. #GMansRocks, all that good stuff. Lads, I'll talk to you. Peace.